What's up, everybody? Welcome to On the Record, an independent Fat Records fan podcast, where we're going album by album, side by side, and roughly, chronologically, through the whole damn catalog. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, and I'm joined by Alex and Josh.
How's it going?
What's up?
So, the record for today is Snuff's Potatoes and Melons, wholesale prices straight from the lockup. Um,
Can I ask, what is a lockup?
so
It's like a drunk. Isn't it like a drunk tank?
yeah, I mean, the
yes,
lockup.
but in terms of like produce.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
I guess
I
fair.
mean,
More of a fair
I
question,
assume
Mister
that
Literal over here.
this is produce that fell off the back of the truck.
Oh, okay.
That this is their way of selling stolen merchandise. Um, is what they're indicating with that. Prices straight from the lockup means like these are illegal.
As they should be.
All right, so let's go through the liner notes. This was released on July 29th, 1997. The UK release was handled by a label called Deceptive Records. There was no release date for that version. The band lineup on this was Duncan Redmonds on vocals and drums. That's quite a feat to me every time I read it. Like,
Yeah.
imagining somebody whose mind is capable of keeping a beat and, like, remember, reciting song lyrics from memory. Like, it's got to be intense to do.
I can't even.
True multitasking.
Like, you can't possibly be thinking about anything else. You've got to be completely into that.
Oh yeah. Full focus.
So we got Laz Wong on guitar, Lee Baxford on bass, Willie Murphy on organ, and Dave Redmonds on trombone. Cover art here was designed by Sergei Lupkov of Sam I Am. We could not find any info on where these songs were recorded, but likely a bunch of different places. It was produced by Snuff, and it was mastered at Ocean View Digital Mastering. The UK version has a different name. Potatoes and Melons at wholesale prices direct to you, the public, and does not contain tracks 3, 4, and 6, which were already released in the UK as B-sides to the Do 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 single. This is a record that is heavy on covers. So let's jump into side one. Side one kicks off with a cover of Rivers of Babylon by the Melodians. Before I realized that this was a cover song, I thought that they were kicking things off with a joke song. And wrote, "It's a fine joke song, I guess."
Take that, Melodians.
Coming from Snuff, it seemed like a joke.
Yeah, initially I just was like, oh sweet, they're gonna do like a kind of old school two-tone jam, and it kind of kicked into. I was like, man, there's like an English beat vibe going a little bit. I was like, I'm really into this, and then it went like straight into like the signature Snuff sound, and I was a little bummed only because I thought I was gonna get some sweet ska, but it still was pretty. I'm still pretty into it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Like, don't worry, you got plenty of sweet ska on this record.
True, there's a lot of. Was very happy to hear how many times the horns came up on this album.
Yeah, I think like they fully integrating the like the keys and the horns into the band was like the smartest decision that they made.
Oh, absolutely.
It's where the band like Snuff has gone from a band that I like didn't give a shit about to now I'm like like actually digging these records.
Yeah, as we get forward like and further into this band's like discography, I'm finding that like I'm getting more and more on board with what they're doing.
Yeah. And this cover was just I mean this like it has so many layers to it because I guess I don't even know if the Melodians actually wrote this song. From what I read, it might actually be like a Rastafari song from 1970 that was adapted from the Hebrew Bible, which is would
Oh, wow.
explain the references to Babylon and stuff like that. Because at first I was like, they start singing, and I was like, did I just like miss the fact that Snuff is Jewish? But
Yeah, that would be an interesting one for us to have just completely missed the ball on, especially with you two being the smart ones. I'm just here to say wise ass shit.
I'm not smart. I just do my research. That's all. But you know, I like digging into these things. But yeah, it's not bad. I'm not like super into it, but you know, it's solid. It's certainly not a bad song. Interestingly, I did see that this has been covered by Sublime on 40 Ounce to Freedom.
Oh, no shit.
That makes
And
sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's why Snuff like kind of caught on to it.
Yeah, I could see that. That was a pretty pivotal record as far as like ska and punk mixing.
Right.
I feel like.
I mean, they might just really be big into,
Yeah.
you know, that type of culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So whatever happened to the Likely Lads? You know, this is a TV show cover, TV show theme song cover.
As Snuff is wont to do, they
Right. They've got the vibe for it, man.
Well, I mean, this record is almost like a sequel to the Flibbity Dibbity Dob record that they did that was like a bunch of fucking weird ass covers of things like TV show themes, and I think that even on that one they did like commercial jingles, which is like even wilder to me. Like that.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
That's some weird shit to do. I was like thinking back, I think one of those is like a jingle for like a vacuum cleaner store or something like which I appreciate their ear for a good jingle.
All right. Shadows of Love. I liked this one a lot. It might just be that the song is really good, but the kind of driving beat, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, this one's not bad. This is a cover of the Four Tops, which is like a Detroit Motown band from this like the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, I think they were like around for a very long time, but like this song's from the 60s. Yeah, that guitar lead at the beginning reminded me a lot of something from No Use for a Name's Leche con Carne. I don't know what it was. Like it just like the second I heard it, I was like, oh, it sounds like New Fan.
I think his vocals a lot in this. I think this is one of the songs where you get to see him stretch his legs a little bit as far as his singing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the backing vocals on this one.
They do that a lot on this record, and they really it's something they really nail. And the more they do it, the happier I am, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think all the songs really benefit from how much they lean on the backup vocals here. So I don't really. I mean, I still have not heard anything beyond this in terms of Snuff's like later recordings. So I would hope that they continue to do that as they go. I don't see why they wouldn't, because it's pretty successful with it. It's another song that feels I don't know. It's like I will say that like overall, I listened to this record and I didn't really pick up on the fact that most of these were covers, because I just
not at all, not until
like,
after the fact.
Sounds like Snuff. Okay.
Yeah. The first listen, I had no idea. Really, I don't think any of this I knew it was a cover. It was the second time around while I was trying to dig more into it that I started to realize, oh, these are cover songs. Yeah.
Like the first one that tipped me off is actually the next song, Soul Limbo. I was like, oh, this seems like pretty odd.
This is I was with Ben with like the first song where I was like, oh, it's like a joke track. I think it just kind of reminded me of it reminded me of Intermission from the Offspring's Ixnay on the Hombre. They have like a weird intermission.
Yeah.
Literally just a song called Intermission, and it
Mhm.
kind of has a vibe like this.
Sure. This was another really strange one that I kind of wonder about how they got to it. So this is a cover of Booker T and the MGs.
Oh, right on.
And so I was looking into that one, and the original version of this song was used by the BBC television's cricket coverage.
Interesting. So that's like their Monday Night Football song.
Right. And then it was, I guess. And then it was later used for a British sports radio program called Test Match Special, which I guess was still focused on cricket.
Are you ready for some cricket?
And I'm only mentioning it because I feel like that has to be where they came across it. Like,
Right.
it seems likely. But you know, I mean, I think it does a good job of like reinterpreting the original as a ska punk song. But like the thing that I like find to be incredibly goofy is like the addition of like the whistles. It's like, oh boy,
Yeah.
I don't know about the whistling guys. But it kind of works. But like in listening to the original, they use like a marimba, which
Yeah.
really gives it that like calypso Caribbean style. And I kind of wish that Snuff had used that, but I think they just used the cowbell as a sort of stand-in for the marimba. I can't really hear if there's a marimba in there, but it's a weird choice for sure.
So the next song, "Come and Gone," I think Duncan sounds a lot like Ari from Lifetime,
Yes.
singing in this song.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
First thing I wrote down, actually.
Yeah, it's not on every song, but there's like a decent number across the records we've listened to so far where like, I don't know, I think it's songs where he sings a bit faster,
Probably, yeah.
possibly where that happens. It's a pretty good song. I could not find out if it was a cover or not. Could
I think
not
this one's
find the
original. This one's
Yeah.
original. So I saw that he's credited as the songwriter on it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this one. I thought it was really. I mean, it's the vibe this band is kind of built for, and they absolutely nail it.
You know, I think it's a decent song, but I think what actually like if it didn't have the keys and the horns, like I really think it would have been much flatter. But yeah,
Ye-
it's all right.
So then the next song,
I think
it's
that's the end
gonna
of side one.
oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's a very short record. It was like what 11 songs in 22 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
I mean, because there are all so many covers and this is like 2 in a row now where we don't really have a lot to talk about in terms of lyrics on the main record.
Right.
We'll have a lot of stuff we could talk about when it comes to the rival records, at least to sort of balance things out. But yeah, it's pretty light on the things we can talk about in terms of the lyrics and the meanings and all that crap.
Yeah. All right. So for our break segment, we're going to go around the room, and ask the question, what's the strangest, most suspicious list of items you've bought together at a store? It can be from any kind of store, not just groceries.
I could start because the second that you asked this question, I immediately had an answer because I had like a moment where I like this is a couple years ago now, so it's funny that I even remember it, but I just remember being struck by how odd it was. You know, when I came home from the grocery store one time and I dumped everything out and I was like, "Oh man, this looks really weird." I had a stick of deodorant, a candle, plastic wrap, a box of condoms, strawberry jam, and a sausage link.
That is pretty eclectic to say the least.
Yeah. And I just like kind of sat there for a second and took it all in, and I was like, oh boy, it kind of looks like I'm either gonna have like a really classy but freaky evening with somebody, or maybe even just by myself.
Or just a very strange dinner with sausage and jelly. For me, it would probably have to be, I couldn't think of any specific ones, but I would guess that it would be anytime like I've gone camping as an adult. Only because it usually involves buying like some sort of a sharp implement, because you may need, we need a hatchet or whatever to, axe, whatever, knife, big ass knife. But then you're also buying like alcohol and like just odds and ends kind of things, like 3 cans of butane and also like a pound of meat. But like nothing really links because it's all just shit you've forgotten on the way there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Anytime you're like gonna do something like that, you're gonna have a strange grocery list.
And it's also like you run into like stupid impulse purchases, so you're just buying like whatever seems funny because you're on a trip with your buddies or whatever.
Yeah. You got anything, Ben?
I feel like I'm the disappointment here. I just released on YouTube the episode of E is for Everything for Bracket, and in that episode, I did a segment in the middle and like didn't really have an answer myself, and asked the audience to send in their own as a way to save the segment. I feel like I'm kind of doing that. Like I feel like I'm extra strategic when it comes to buying things that might look funny together. Like I'm always like very methodical about like purchases of things like condoms, so that they're not like paired with something that looks really. And it
so,
doesn't really.
so there's
It
no
doesn't really
potential like embarrassment.
but for some reason, like whenever I buy those things, it's usually like in a isolated manner. Um,
2
so
words, Ben. Self checkout.
yeah. But even then, I don't know. I buy things in very methodical combinations. I mean, I guess sometimes like the checkout people may have been concerned about my cholesterol levels when I was younger, but uh, nothing,
It's a
nothing
whole
too
new
strange.
level of judgy right there. I bet his cholesterol's high. Who are you?
Okay, I mean, who among us has not been in the grocery store, and been in line behind somebody or even in front of somebody, and you look at their cart and you're like, "Ooh, what is going on with you?" Um, I mean, I've definitely seen my fair share of people where I'm just like, "Dang, your body is reeling from zero nutrition."
That's a lot of soda. Is
There's no
something
water
that
in your
I
body at all, is there?
see a lot.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's that is like a really odd number of Hungry Man dinners you got there. But yeah, I think one time I did see somebody that had like a cart full of soda, like frozen foods like Hungry Man and crap like that are like the cheapest, grossest things. Like a couple handles of vodka, some
Couple, wow.
beer. Yeah, I mean they were stocking up. I mean this was during the pandemic, I think.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that makes
But
sense. You don't want to go on too many vodka runs. You try to limit those.
but it was I was like, wow, good God, like you're gonna age pretty quickly doing that.
Yeah. All right. So let's flip it over to side 2 of this record. It is kicked off with a song. Um, it is titled "It Must Be Boring Being Snuff." Um, I found it to be a ripper.
Yeah, it's super aggressive.
Yeah.
It's a cover of a. Is it a diss track by another band on them, or
I don't
is
think it
it
is.
Playful
Because
Rib?
what I saw was that I guess the original version is actually called "It Must Be Boring Being in Snuff," so it might actually just be talking about the call it a style of filmmaking.
Oh, so this is not a cover of the other one.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
As far
They
as I can tell.
probably. I mean, I can't really tell because, I mean, I could not. There's like almost zero lyrics available online for this album. Like I found very little in terms of lyrics because obviously a lot of them are covers. But then,
Oh,
but if you listen to the original and then you listen to Snuff's version, it's just really hard to tell with Snuff's vocals really like what he's saying.
And it's so much more sped up than the original too.
Yeah, it's wildly different. But I did notice that he does use at least some of the same words. But
So you're saying there's a chance.
there's a chance. That is the second time this week that somebody has made that reference. So I think it's, but like I think Snuff really enjoys like changing lyrics. So maybe they did change some of the lyrics of the original.
Sure.
I don't know. It's a fucking weird song either way. Like in
The
terms of-
artwork. Can we talk about the artwork on the single for the original version?
No, we need to talk about the original.
We have to.
What's okay? So I don't really exactly know how you're supposed to say the name of this band. I guess it's just What Tyler.
What
Yes, it's-
Tyler? I think they have
What?
a Bandcamp,
Yeah.
and it's written as what question mark, and the answer is Tyler.
Wait, seriously? I just
Yeah,
wrote that
yeah.
into the doc because I thought it was funny.
Yeah. So the banner on their Bandcamp says Q what, and A is Tyler. I don't know how
Because
much
they're
that-
English, I'm just imagining some like British guy going, "What?
Yeah. Whoa.
What, Tyler?"
the answer to this question is Tyler.
It's Walt. It's Tyler.
Okay, but like we have to say, the name of this collection that this song actually appears on is called "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles," and the first time you see that without seeing the artwork, you might think, "Oh, okay, that's like a wholesome kind of name," and then you look at the cover art and you're like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's not wholesome at all. That is a soldier with long hair."
He's blowing a monkey.
Yeah.
He's blowing bubbles.
It's a drawing. Don't worry. It's
Oh,
just a
Yeah, it's
There's-
not.
there's-
This isn't like, yeah.
like
That would
we
be
couldn't
terrible.
link to this in I feel like any of the outlets for like, I don't know. I feel like Spotify and YouTube might,
It's on YouTube. Just search what Tyler blowing bubbles on YouTube. Somebody uploaded, I think, the whole CD track by track.
Yeah, it's up there.
But the soldier is also inserting his finger.
Oh, into the monkey's butt.
Into the monkey's bum.
I actually
No,
missed that part. I
I
was so
did.
focused on the soldier blowing the monkey, I missed the butt play.
I definitely missed it.
And if this show had cold opens, that would have been it.
Thanks for that, Ben. Wow.
I like
Jesus.
that Ben really gets down to the nitty gritty with this stuff and finds the details that we all missed.
And the band, I'm assuming that's the band watching. They're horrified.
Right, rightfully so.
Okay,
they look
hang on a
horrified.
second. Two of them might be horrified. That guy in the middle with the long neck is kind of like, ooh, I want to see what's going on over there.
One of the perks of having that long neck.
Oh man, yeah, that is some grade A artwork. Boy.
Oh man, modern day Ray Pettibone right there.
So yeah.
But the song is actually like, if you just are just listening to the song, it's like a hardcore punk song.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And it's weird because the original sounds like an Iron Maiden interlude. It's like slow, like picking guitar, like real clean guitar. It's very strange.
So then up next we had Ye Old Folk Twat. It was a really fun song, I thought. Before I realized that this was a cover, I thought that the lyrics had been summarized or been written by the band, and I thought that they were pretty funny.
I do
I
like
guess
the
they're still
horns. Oops,
they're
sorry.
still kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I couldn't have any kind of frame of reference for the original, because I mean, I don't even know how you'd find this song, whatever it is. I do wonder if they just added lyrics. Maybe there were no lyrics. I don't know. I don't even know.
If anyone knows,
Yeah.
tell us.
Yeah.
They've definitely they've definitely improvised a bit with the song. I don't think that skateboards and Vespas were around when the original was written.
I couldn't even. I was having a hard time, like, even focusing on the lyrics on that one. So, that's funny.
do you think that the King Louis of France part was in the original? Like the final verse is the only thing that they kept.
It could be. I mean,
Possibly, yeah.
All right. So up next is Magic Moments. It was originally released by Perry Como. It was written by Burt Bacharach and some guy.
And some guy, yeah.
I was not a fan of this one. This one didn't. The goofy parts really just murder it for me.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Is that Homer Simpson?
Like, are you asking is Harry Shearer on the song?
Well, like, it's just like the second I heard it, I was like, that sounds like Homer.
It does. It's not great.
And like the thing is that I didn't understand it. I was like, why is this here? And then I listened to the original version, and I understood then that that's what they're making fun of.
Yeah, I figured it had to have been some sort of a piss take, but I couldn't take it.
It's
no pun intended.
It's definitely like poking fun. It sounds like Homer Simpson making fun of like Perry Como's slow waltzy croon. It's weird. And the original, I mean, I don't really care for this version of the song either. It's just kind of whatever. But it's much better than the original because I listened to that and I instantly wanted to go to sleep in a coffin and die of old age. That was not my favorite thing.
I like that you thought far enough ahead that you're just gonna go sleep in the coffin until you die.
It just makes me tired listening to it. I'm like, oh no. I don't
You're like, I know what's coming.
It was not a magic moment, I'll tell you that.
How'd y'all feel about that Russian Field song?
I liked it. It felt. I know it's like obviously not an album, so it's not. They don't really consider sequencing, but I feel like this would have been a really good opener on this album. It's got like that kind of a tone to me.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I didn't really care that much about it.
Yeah, it just feels kind of weird stuck at the end.
Yeah, it did feel a little out of place, but then I mean, this is just such like a weird,
right? Yeah, it's a haphazard sort of collection, so I mean, you can't really fault the sequencing.
Right. It was okay. What did you think, Ben?
I felt like the album was starting to drag.
Yes, I would definitely. Even though I like the song, I would absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm. Which is impressive for such a short record.
I know. I feel like the first half is way stronger than the second on this album.
There's a rival record that we're going to talk about later this season that I recently listened to for the first time, and I was shocked at how short it was because of how long it felt to listen to. So there's something I'm really going to hate coming up.
Oh, that's exciting.
That is exciting since we don't really do a whole lot of that.
No. Unless it's like face to face or something.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, there's more of that to come, unfortunately.
Yes.
All right.
I find it interesting that you didn't. I actually thought the second half of the record was better than the first half. I think it's just because, and maybe that's just because I like these last two songs a lot. These are like my favorite tracks.
I do like the last two.
Yeah.
I would agree, maybe even that this half was better. I kind of feel like Magic Moments in Russian Fields, that 1-2 punch there was kind of.
Yeah, it kind of it just like stops it in its tracks for a second. You're just like, ah, man, we don't need
But
these.
the last two songs are really cool.
Yeah,
So Timed Up is next. How'd y'all feel about Timed Up?
I am the odd man out. I think I didn't care for this one really. I didn't hate it, but it didn't do.
it's too short. Because I really like this track a lot because it just surprised the hell out of me with that effect that they use. Um, did you guys listen to this song in particular with headphones on?
I had earbuds on at work, but I was also like
Yeah.
usually driving or at work
Okay.
or something. But
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they did here. But it has such a wild effect. I don't know if I've ever heard anything like it before.
I'll have to go back and listen again.
I
I don't remember anything
I'll-
sticking out really.
I remember the effect being weird, but I can't put my finger on it at the moment. The only word I wrote to describe it was interessante.
Well, yeah, I mean it's pretty interesting, all right. It just like gives it like a whole other dimension or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on, what they did, but I would have loved to have heard like what a full song using that effect like sounds like. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just like maybe it's just some strange pedal effect, something they were fucking around with in the studio, but it's really cool. I would have loved to have heard like somebody take that kind of effect and turn it into a full song.
I do. One of the reasons I like it too is that it's a good lead in to Pink Purple, which has got like a very funky and dirty sound to it. I thought
Yeah.
it was a really good closer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a very good closer. It tons of energy. It just has a really good vibe to it. I really enjoyed it.
yeah. This is my favorite track as the last one. And this one's
I would say it's up there for me too.
And Time Dub are originals. But I really like how it starts with the keys and then kind of goes into that guitar that like revs up the song, and it's really solid. And I think it's probably the keyboard or the organ or whatever is what makes this song.
All right. Any more thoughts on this record?
Just Snuff kind of keeps getting better for me. I'm like I feel like slowly becoming a Snuff fan, kind of.
Yeah, Snuff has been an interesting outcome in terms of the project here.
Yeah, I would not have
The
pegged Snuff
podcast.
as being the band that like we would have all started warming up to.
Yeah, for sure. So Brendan actually says that the next album, Tweet Tweet My Lovely, is his favorite, and Brendan is very much a fan of this band. So I'm excited to check out that one since he's like a big fan and says that's his favorite. So
Nice, that'll be interesting.
Something to look forward to. I still haven't listened to it at this point. But yeah, I'm liking this band a lot more these days.
Heck yeah.
All right. So moving on to the first of two rival records. We're talking about, because we keep hearing Ari at times. We keep hearing Lifetime at times in some of these songs by Snuff. We're gonna talk about Lifetime, Jersey's Best Dancers. This album is perfect. It is
Yes.
probably the platonic ideal of pop punk and hardcore put together. But it's probably my second favorite album from one of my favorite bands, because I just don't connect to this one the way I feel like I connect with Hello Bastards.
I always kind of had you pegged as a Hello Bastards guy. I feel like.
If I was recommending an album to anybody, this would be the one I recommend. But I just feel like Hello Bastards has more character.
Yes.
Interesting. I could see that.
More charm.
Yeah, this is a little more like sentimentality kind of and that sort of a vibe, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's where I agree. Like if you just take it as what it is in terms of its songs and you don't really think about too hard about the lyrics, this is an incredible record. It is so good. I would say this has like a lot of this band's best songs.
Yeah.
But I think the lyrics are where I disconnect from it these days. I think I was always more of a Hello Bastards person, and just like you, Ben. And I would listen to this one, and I don't know, I like, there's just something about returning to it that I was like, oh, okay, like I'm just not in that same place anymore. I think this is very much a record that was written by people in their 20s, and you can just
Sure.
tell because there's so much of a focus on girls and relationships that I'm just kind of like, okay. I think you're in a different place in your life.
Yeah, you age out of certain stuff like that. I mean, the
Right.
lyrics don't necessarily hit the way they used to.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that the lyrics are poorly written or bad.
No,
or
not at
anything.
all.
I will say that like the only song that I'm kind of like maybe a little white knighty is Boys No Good.
Yeah,
yeah.
super white knighty. Even back then, I was like, boy, this guy's really high on the horse here.
I skip it anytime I'm listening, usually.
Oh, really? I like the song a lot.
I think Bringing It Backwards captures that.
That's a great song.
That is probably my favorite song here.
Feeling a lot better. Coincidentally, supposedly both those songs are written about members of Floor Punch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like supposedly, I think girl stuff, something stupid like that.
90s hardcore gossip.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about time Integrity got beat up in Europe. No, I'm just kidding. We could talk about that. That'd be funny.
That's not. So, what are your favorite songs on here? Bringing It Backwards, agreed, is a really good song.
I like How We Are quite a bit. Cut the Tension's really, really great.
Yes. Yeah, the songs in the middle of the record are like phenomenal.
Turnpike Gates, as cliche as it is really hard to argue as an opener. I mean, it's just so good. And like anytime you see them play that live, like people immediately erupt because it just has that rolling drum and people it just goes nuts for it.
Yeah. And I can see that and I understand that. I think that was sort of the one that surprised me in returning to it because I was like, oh, I think I used to like this song a lot more. I honestly, for me, it's on sort of like the lower end for me. But it's certainly not bad by any means. I mean, this.
I do agree that middle section is very underrated, though. You're right.
Yeah, I just like I said at the top, the whole record is fantastic. So I'm just like saying Turnpike Gates is one of my least favorites. It's still a great song
for sure.
I was always partial to 25 Cent Giraffes. I really like that song. And yeah, Cut the Tension. And theme song for a New Brunswick Basement Show. Yeah, it's really like the middle of the record, I think, is really the best stuff.
Hey Katrine has that really cool like chugging riff too. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only 2 slower numbers here. That one and The Truth About Lars.
Yeah.
And they're both like they're good. They're good like slower tracks, but they don't really they're not as good as the slower tracks on Hello Bastards.
Sure.
Great. Yeah. Some songs you guys haven't mentioned that I liked a lot on this are Young Lad and Scotty, Francine Nolan. I like the guitar lead and the bridge of that song a lot. I think I'm using those words correctly. And then I think Verena Kings I think they do really good closers on both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great closer. And that's kind of where Lifetime leaves it for like over a decade, right? They didn't
give or take.
They didn't do the follow up until 2008, right?
And that's such a good follow up too.
Ben, did you like the follow up, the reunion record? I remember you being kind of uncertain about some of it.
I mean, I like it more than a lot of things. There are like a handful of songs on it that are really good. Um, but it didn't grab me the same way that other records did.
Yeah.
One of my favorite. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I haven't gone back to it, so I don't really. I remember some of the songs, but for the most part, I don't really remember it that well.
Yeah. One of my favorite anecdotes about that record is they were doing tracking and they were finishing up backing vocals and they needed Yeeman in the studio for like a go or a hey or one of his signature, shouts. And I guess he couldn't make it in. So they literally just stole it off of a Kid Dynamite record and just pasted it in. And like, if you go back, I don't remember which songs specifically for Lifetime and Kid Dynamite, but if you do find out the titles and you go back and listen to the Kid Dynamite track and then the Lifetime track, you're like, that is totally the same. Like, go.
I will say, bringing up Kid Dynamite, listening to this record, you can definitely see like this was Dan Yeeman probably was just like went directly from writing this record into writing the Kid Dynamite songs.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So many of the Kid Dynamite songs sound a lot like stuff taken from this record.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in a bit of time, we'll be talking about that record. But we're gonna move on to talking about a record that was probably a major disappointment if y'all are like me for everybody when they first bought it. And I bought it strictly because of the song Corazon de Oro, and then I was kind of disappointed with the rest of it as like a 16-year-old. But every time I revisit this record, I start to like more new songs on it. It's a really good album. I think that everybody should give another chance. The beginning of the record is really strong. Yeah. How do you guys feel?
It's a lot of album, but I think it's really great. I do think, like you said, it starts off really strong.
Wait, did you
you
mention the title?
I thought I said
it was
Life Won't Wait,
right? Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
Sorry,
I'm just
guys.
like, we're looking at the doc, and I'm like, wait, did you say the title? It's it's Rancid's Life Won't Wait.
I lost the plot there. Sorry.
No, I mean maybe you did, and I missed it. I don't know.
Either way, it can't hurt to reiterate it.
Yeah, it's a fucking.
And we'll leave all this in so we look professional and stuff.
It is a fucking beast of a record, though.
It is, dude. There's a lot to it.
There's so much going on here. Like, I mean, there's a lot that you could talk about.
And like,
it's all over the place.
It is. For me, this record came out. It was. So like I had heard Rancid and I found out I liked Rancid. I think when everyone else did, when like Ruby Soho and the other single off of Out Come the Wolves, when those songs blew up. Like at least in my area, they hit radio quite a bit and MTV and that sort of thing. So that was like when I found out I liked Rancid. But this was when this album came out was around the time I started like actually delving into bands like discographies and like figuring out what I liked. So this album had hit and like people were just songs were all over file sharing and stuff. And I just kept getting every song I kept finding from this record was entirely different from the last song I had heard from this record. And I went and got it finally and was just, it like blew my mind how one band could do so many different things on one 45 track album on one CD.
Yeah, I would say this is like this feels like it's probably the most creative and like artistically indulgent
for
album
sure
that Rancid made. It just like it doesn't pick a specific direction. It picks like 4 and does all of them.
Yeah. It's pretty wild, man.
I mean, they recorded it in like 5 different places. I think it was LA, maybe San Francisco, LA, New York, New Orleans, and then Jamaica, like Kingston. I don't know if they went to other places in Jamaica, but
that's amazing, man.
And I think this is maybe the only one that they recorded without Mr. Brett being a producer. I think Lars and Tim handled all like basically just did this
Well,
themselves.
yeah, I guess Mr. Brett was probably that was when he was out of Bad Religion too, right?
Yeah,
Probably around that time.
right. Yeah, this is 1998, so they
Yeah.
were probably recording it over the course of like a couple of years, I would imagine.
So
96.
Bad Religion might have been gearing up to write Process of Belief and stuff around that time.
That's a little too early.
Is it? Was that 2000?
Yeah. It was like 2001 or 2000.
Oh man, I always thought it was like 99, 2000 for some reason.
No, this was the time when Bad Religion was really like in the doldrums.
Yeah.
This was like right around the time of what I would say is like of the original, original, but like I guess it's hard to say when Bad Religion took a break because they like kind of came back like right away.
Yeah.
But it was towards the end. It was like when they were on their major label.
Yeah.
And it was not the good era. I
This
always
would've
forget
been
the
No
name of that one.
Substance.
Yeah, No Substance. That's the one. That's
Yep.
a really bad record.
Oh, it's not good.
It's so bad.
Some of that major label stuff's pretty cool, and then there's no stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. New America was a good bounce back from whatever.
I think New America is a lot better than people gave it credit for. I feel like that record got a lot of shit at the time.
Yeah, it's all because of the computer song. But anyway, back to Rancid. I guess they recorded. I read that they recorded like over 50 songs for this record.
I believe it, dude. Because I feel like they were 7 inches this time too. And I could be wrong about that, but man, there was so much material.
Yeah, and only Rancid would record that many songs and then be like, "We're gonna put like half of them on here."
You're right.
I mean, it's a fucking hour-long record. Like, and my first thought when I saw the runtime for it, I was like, "Oh man, I don't know if I need an hour of Rancid." But I think like there's so many different flavors here that like the variety saves it.
And like it's impressive that it all feels as like authentic and sincere as it does.
Yeah.
Because like any style they jump to on this record feels like they've been doing it for years.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I will say there are definitely some songs that I'm just like completely baffled as to how they ended up on this record. Like, what are you guys doing? And that's where the indulgence really comes in, because I think some of these songs are amazing and some of them are not.
Yeah, there's like we said, there's a lot on here, so it certainly is bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I will say though that like it feels like every time I like really dig in and like go back to Rancid's lyrics, maybe more so than ever on this record in particular, I'm impressed by the lyrics. Like the level of storytelling is amazing. It feels like they really like went hard on it this time around, maybe more than ever before. There's a lot of detail, a lot of like really interesting topics. You know, I will say this is like peak Tim Armstrong mumbling.
Oh, big time. Big time.
There are parts where I was just like, what?
Every song is one long slur of like words just running together.
And then you read the lyrics along with it, and you're just like, oh wow, he said a lot there. Like he fit a lot into like a small space. The man, I mean, he
just smashes those consonants together, man.
He makes it work. He's a wordsmith. He's a wizard.
And that was before the huge beard, so he didn't even have that. There was no obstruction. Now he's got a giant beard to fight with too.
Even adds to the wizard vibe. We call him Mumbledore.
Yes. I love it.
I was looking at the most recent pictures of him, and he looks like the professional wrestler Tommaso Ciampa. Like
he does look like Tommaso Ciampa. You're right.
They have the same looking beard, like almost exactly. Ciampa just needs a skull tattoo.
Oh man! Last night when I was hanging out with my friend Brendan, we were talking about like because we were at that show with a bunch of like really like older people, we started talking about how like sometimes you listen to like because Rancid put out a record this year,
Yeah.
which is actually not bad. But not that we needed it, but it's there. And I just remembered like looking at a picture of Rancid, and I was like, oh yeah, they're really old now.
Yeah. And the
and
drummer's from like the Used or something.
oh, okay.
Well, which like at this point is like old news. Like he's been with them for God knows how many years at this point. But
Wait,
but yeah, I saw a picture of Lars, and I was like, ooh.
Lars probably looks the youngest out of all of them, I think.
No.
No?
I mean, if you look at the picture they have on Spotify, I was like, all right, you
Man.
guys, like they don't look bad. I'm not trying to be a jerk.
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm certainly not looking to shame anyone's looks, especially when I look the way I do.
It's just like you always have that realization. Like you hear the music and you're just like, yeah, these guys are still, with it and young because they sound young. But then like
I would say Lars still looks like the youngest one here.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe because he's wearing a hat and stuff, but yeah, because Tim looks like Tim.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like one of those moments that you just kind of stop and you're just like, oh yeah, they've been around for a really long time. It's like when you see a picture of Bad Religion, you're just like, oh, Grandpa started a band.
Right.
But can we just start talking about some of these songs now?
Sure.
Yeah. I love the part in the song "Life Won't Wait" where they get like to the build up and I'm assuming that's not Tim singing in the song. Is it Lars?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was Matt Freeman, then you would know.
when they out the "Life Won't Wait" like it's a James Bond theme.
It does have
I
that
love
kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I really like Lady Liberty on this a lot. There's a lot of like cool bouncy songs on this record, and Lady Liberty is definitely one of them.
Oh, you like that one?
I do. I feel like it's like the soundtrack to a weird 1940s black and white, like Keystone Cops kind of movie or something. I feel like there's something wacky going on set to that song.
Okay, I can.
The guy's in like a big jalopy with like shaky wheels, and it's like sputtering smoke. They're
definitely using a stand-up bass in that song.
Oh, sure, for sure. Yeah, it probably got like one of the Tiger Army dudes or something.
Yeah. I mean, my only note on that one was, why is this here?
Yeah, I like Lady Liberty. I like Blood Clot a lot. I think Leicester Square is really cool.
Yeah. Blood Clot is one of my favorite Rancid songs.
It's just one of my favorite songs, I think, in general. It's just so good.
For me, it's got like all the hallmarks of their best style.
It does. Yeah, like they hit all their notes. There's the backing vocals. I mean, like big chorus, like a lot of energy.
There's a lot of intensity to the vocals that I really like.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like Hoover Street. It's just such like an odd. It's almost like they looked at like the slower parts of Ruby Soho and they're just like, all right, let's make it even slower and kind of like drawn out. But this has to be the only song that like they've ever done that very prominently features a triangle, right? It's just like, what's that like?
Yeah, it's gotta be. I can't think of any other ones, and that's I feel like something that would stick out elsewhere.
It's an odd choice, but it really works, and I can only assume that they decided to use the triangle for that part because he's talking about it's a glass pipe murder, and it's like it's almost like give it that like glass.
Yeah, that kind of jangly, like glassy sound.
Yeah,
that is a good point. Actually, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, but yeah. I really like that one. I like Warsaw. I like Hooligans.
Warsaw's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Warsaw was, I think, from when I first listened, one of the first songs I was able to latch onto on this.
Nice.
That one feels like a throwback to Let's Go style.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing too. Is like in an unintentional way, it almost feels like a greatest hits album too, because of the fact that they're hitting all these different angles that they're known for. But like making new songs out of them, yeah, it feels like a an unintentional best of, even though it's an original album.
Mm-hmm. I will say there's a couple songs on here that feel like they were like carryovers from Out Come the Wolves, and then they kind of like went in and were like, all right, let's like change some things so it doesn't sound so much like it. Like
Yeah,
New Dress sounds like almost like an outtake.
I can see that.
And what was the other one? I guess Leicester Square. It reminded me a lot of Roots Radical, like the cadence of it. But not bad songs, but it just kind of felt like it's like, all right, we've done this before. I really liked Backslide though. I think that one's cool. That one's like a full on uses like a horn section, which is really good. Yeah, Cash Culture and Violence is a weird one though.
Is that the one with Dickie Barrett on it?
Yeah. I just think like the verses, I don't like there's like that weird echoing effect that Tim uses on his vocals. I'm just like, okay, what is going on here? This is really
the like reverb and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. But I like the chorus on it though.
Yeah, I do too. That was one of the songs they did like a 7-inch, and then they put like a bunch of B-sides on it.
I like Something in the World Today. There was a lyric in that one that stood out to me as being pretty relevant, particularly right now. Was Babylon's burning and the fire seems waterproof.
Oof, that is good.
It just made me think of Gaza.
Yeah.
I'm surprised though, Ben, when you said that Corazon de Oro was the song that made you want to buy the record.
Yeah.
It's just like of all these songs, I didn't expect you to say that one.
It's the only one I'd heard before.
Tim's really struggling with the G's on that one. It's like girl with a heart of gold is like curl with a heart of cold. Like it's something.
Lucky he works the G in there at all. Any word that ends drops it.
Like, get this man a speech therapist.
I liked the songs Crane Fist and Who Would Have Thought.
Who Would Have Thought's really good.
Yeah, I do really like that one.
Because it's a Rancid record, it feels way too fucking long to me.
Every Rancid record's too long.
Yep.
Even the first one, which I think is kind of short, is probably still too long.
Yeah, the number of songs just out of control.
It's got to be what, like 25 or something? Oh, okay, that was close.
Yeah, 22 songs.
We'll be talking about Tim's younger brother's one of his records that came out this year, and there's way too many fucking songs on that thing too.
What are you talking about?
Green Day Nimrod.
Oh. Certainly.
All right. Anything more to say about Rancid?
They're Rancid. They're great. It's hard to fuck with, really.
Yeah. I'll just say that coming back to this record, like I think a long time ago, I just kind of picked what I thought were my favorite songs from it, and then never went back to the full thing. But I'm glad we came back to it.
Yeah, it's got a lot to offer, even all these years later.
Yeah, I found a lot of like sort of like new stuff to appreciate, especially lyrically. I thought it was pretty strong. The storytelling is like next level for Rancid.
Yeah, that's always been kind of their bread and butter is just telling stories.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were you guys' favorite songs from the Snuff record? I mean, it's kind of weird to talk about, but I thought that the Shadows of Love cover was really good. And yeah, the last couple songs were pretty great too. It must be boring being Snuff.
Yeah, I was gonna. Rivers of Babylon would have been mine. Pink Purple and probably Time Dub. or not Time Dub. The song before it.
Russian
Russian
Fields?
Fields. Yeah, Pink Purple, Russian Fields, and probably Rivers of Babylon.
Yeah, I Pink Purple was my definite favorite. Love Time Dub because of how unique it is. And then It Must Be Boring Being Snuff, also very good. And I guess from the first half of it, I liked Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads. It was a pretty solid song.
The only thing that I would have trimmed, definitely Magic Moments.
Yeah.
For me, maybe Russian Fields, but I feel like you don't need to. I think that may have been better without Magic Moments leading into it.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably get rid of E Old Folks, Twatty, and Time Dub. I could do without.
Yeah. Yeah, Magic Moments is the one that I really feel like just didn't need it. The rest is at least
Alright.
interesting.
Yeah. That's going to do it for this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or most importantly, corrections, because we're flying fairly loose tonight, on anything we might have gotten wrong, please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com so we can set the record straight in a future episode. We'll be back next week to talk about the inappropriately named album, Making Friends by No Use for a Name, because looking at the lyrics to that record, like, I don't know, very unfriendly. See you guys.
Take it easy.